Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
When shopping for your family's meals, do you know where you can find Alaska-grown products? Everywhere. They're available at your local grocery stores and farmers markets across the state. Alaska-grown products are fresher and more nutritious, and buying local helps grow our economy. So just look for the Alaska-grown label when you shop, or ask your grocer where the Alaska-grown products are. Remember, Alaska-grown. It's closer, fresher, better.
And it's all Alaska-grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. The show, starting Monday morning, will be shown at 5 a.m. on KAKM, but still will go out tomorrow at the usual time, but then starting after Monday and beyond, you can still pick it up at 5:30 p.m. on KUAC, APB, and then 7:30 as it has been shown on 360 North, and then again 5 a.m. the following morning on Alaska Public Media. Anyway, moving on to satellite imagery, pretty nice day here across the southeast coast. Some clouds off the coastline or out over the eastern Gulf of Alaska, kind of dropping southeastward and dissipating throughout the afternoon. Heavier clouds with the main front precipitation back to the west there, up across Kodiak Island, and moisture sliding up into the Kenai Peninsula and back across the southwest interior. And it looks like some more showers there approaching the southwest coast. Otherwise, Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, even northern Cook Inlet and the Sitna Valleys northward. Pretty nice afternoon today. Lots of sunshine up here to the north, all the way up to the western Arctic coast, North Slope looking really good, and much of the Seward Peninsula. Higher clouds starting to edge away northward into that area, and the main low center back out over the central Bering Sea here with lots of clouds and some showers around. And rolling that through again, the main front right back in through here, slowly coming northward there, with spreading some light rain up into the Kenai Peninsula today. In fact, this afternoon, rain as far north as Kenai this afternoon there, so I should have edged that green area up a little farther to the north, and of course Seward. And by about 3 in the afternoon, anywhere from up to 1/10 of an inch had fallen across the Kenai Peninsula, central Kenai Peninsula, on down to the south. Most areas had less than that, and back over western Cook Inlet here, Iliamna, Kamishak Bay areas, anywhere from 1/4 to 3/10 of an inch falling, mostly in the upslope areas there and toward the Alaska Range. And then a narrow band of rain came across Bristol Bay earlier today, dry this afternoon, and then back along that front, some areas of light rain extending on back out to the coast. Some pretty good winds in advance of that front. Cold Bay seeing southeast winds earlier today gusting to 35 miles per hour. And 25 to 35 mile per hour winds occurring along and across the mostly the Kuskokwim Delta coast, as observed at Kipnuk on down to Cape Newenham. Fog today, Pribilof Islands with most of the shower activity still to your south, and then showers across the central Aleutians, bringing anywhere from 1 to 2/10 of an inch of rain there during the day today, then back out into the fog, along with some gusty north winds there at Shimia, only to about 20 to 25 miles per hour. And again, the sunshine near the interior, and then you get into the clouds over the North Slope and eastern Arctic coast. This trough coming southward kind of put a squeeze on the gradient there. So westerly winds gusted as high as 42 miles per hour at Kaktovik earlier today. And for tonight, that thing just kind of dissipates out, but still a narrow band of precipitation, pretty light, mainly off the coast, but some of that could skiff the areas from Kaktovik over to possibly Deadhorse. Otherwise, look for fog to continue around the greater Barrow area overnight tonight with fair skies, Kotzebue Sound area, Selawik Valley eastward and southward into the Copper River Basin. And of course, becoming cloudy here south of the Alaska Range, Susitna-Matanuska Valley areas, increasing clouds, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast. And chance of rain up into maybe Turnagain Arm. It's going to be a little hard here getting into northern Cook Inlet, but better chances west of the Parks Highway, especially in toward the Alaska Range here for the western Susitna Valley. And then areas of light rain along in advance of that front across the southwest interior, inching its way into Norton Sound. A few isolated showers following the front in behind there with mostly cloudy skies, and then more of an enhanced area of light rain, fog, and drizzle. That trough from just about St. George there, southward across Nikolsky and westward to Atka with more showers farther to the west. But this front really having a tough time. Most of the flow kind of back to the northwest or off to the east here. So it's really slowly just shifting northward. And we'll see for tomorrow, that front lying right across the southern Kenai Peninsula, back northwest across the Kuskokwim Valley, out along the southern coast of Norton Sound there to roughly St. Lawrence Island. So cloudy, maybe occasional light rain here, south central Alaska, periods of very light rain, Prince William Sound. And those areas, again, back out to the northwest, maybe as far north as the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula. Scattered showers behind the front, and then that trough and low center there near the Pribilofs now for tomorrow afternoon. Brings rain and fog, drizzle, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, back in towards St. Paul. And the sunshine gets squeezed down a little bit there for tomorrow. Still some gusty northeast winds along the northwest coast and up toward Cape Lisburne, but looks sunshine there across the northern Koyukuk Valley and the Yukon there. Clouds on the increase, but still a pretty nice day in store for the Tanana Valley. Very weak trough through the central interior. Mostly sunny here for the northern southeast coast and a little more clouds down to the south. This system gradually pushing eastward, and we'll see for Monday that dissipates. This northern area here breaks up. Whatever moisture's left results in some clouds and a few scattered showers through the central interior there from the upper Tanana Valley back west out toward Norton Sound. And then the southern portion slides some rain into the Panhandle, which lingers through the afternoon from Dixon Entrance right up toward the central areas, drawing out to the north. And trough with some showers, mainly along the North Gulf Coast. Chance of showers, Copper River Basin. Same thing, south central Alaska, Susitna Valley. Scattered showers, northern Kenai Peninsula southward there. A few showers around Kodiak. More numerous along this trough here. Pretty narrow there from the Alaska Peninsula, northeast Bristol Bay up into the southern Kuskokwim Valley, and then showers back to the northwest, but nothing too terribly heavy. Up to the north, though, got an Arctic front. Big high back here just west or northwest of Banks Island. The northerly flow on the eastern side of that, pushing that front down, brings some colder air in. So mixed precipitation, definitely a possibility during the afternoon hours from Barrow eastward, and then that'll be rain on the north side of the front, but precipitation gets cut off at the Brooks Range there, so nothing to the south except some partly sunny skies, becoming mostly sunny here. Kobuk Valley to Kivalina, Kotzebue, northern Seward Peninsula, and out to the west, just a couple of weak troughs for mostly cloudy skies and some scattered shower activity. Temperatures across south central Alaska today into the lower 70s at mid-afternoon with 70 degrees at Palmer, 71 at Talkeetna. McCarthy also pushed up to 71. Across the southeast coast, lower to upper 60s. 65 down at Heidelberg, 67 in Klawock. Sitka had 62, 68 both at Gustavus and Juneau, with 62 at Yakutat. Up in the Tanana Valley, lower to mid-60s, 65 both at Northway and Fairbanks, as well as Chalk Yitzhak up there by the Yukon, 57 at Fort Yukon, 61 over at Bettle, same thing at Tanana, 50 Anatuvik Pass, and fog, 37 degrees at Barrow, otherwise mostly in the 40s. Umiat did push up to 50, sunshine, east winds there, 51 at Point Lay, lower 60s here across the northwest. Kotzebue at 62, same thing at Nome, and 59 over at McGrath, with Caltag up to 63 here, Koyuk 66. And we'll see in the upper 50s, 2 lower 60s across the southwest. Bethel did reach 62. For the Pribilofs, 50s this afternoon. St. George, the warmer location at 57, 54, fog at Chimia, and Adak 54, mid-50s all the way over to Nikolsky. And a little more sunshine there in Unalaska with 62, 50s and 60s here across the Alaska Peninsula. King Salmon up to 68, and Port Hayden was 67 earlier on. Lows for tonight, mid to upper 40s here across the Panhandle, otherwise 30s to lower 40s, Copper River Basin. Some areas dropping down to below the frost point there, like Eagle has a forecast low of 29. 30 to 35 here across the north slope on out to the Arctic coast. Much milder here, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta lower to mid-50s, and that pattern extends down across the Alaska Peninsula, near 50 for the Aleutians. And for highs tomorrow, back 65 to 72 through the central interior areas, a little cooler to the south, 60s back to the southwest, 30s and 40s for the north slope and the Arctic coast, 60s for the Panhandle. Flying weather, good VFR. Seward Peninsula down in the Copper River Basin. Conditions deteriorating later tonight there along the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula. Back along the west coast, look for some IFR extending out toward the Pribilofs. IFR for the Arctic coast. Marginal VFR they've got in the forecast for the southern Panhandle. And that persists down here into tomorrow as well. VFR up to the north though. VFR eastern interior back to Kotzebue Sound. VFR breaking out here over the southwest coast, but IFR up to the Kenai Peninsula area along the Arctic coast, and a big batch here over the southeast Bering Sea. And Etobicoke-Natigan tomorrow look good. VFR conditions. Lake Clark and Merrill marginal VFR. Rainy, same forecast. Windy VFR. Isabel holding on to the VFR conditions. Mentasta VFR. Tanita VFR trending toward marginal in the afternoon. Portage, marginal VFR, lowest conditions, possibly IFR will be on the eastern entrance. Chilkoot and White, VFR. And the freezing levels about 8,000 feet here across interior Alaska, 10,000 feet south of the Kenai Peninsula. And a little cooler air mass back out to the west there. They drop down to about 6,000 feet around Atka. And for icing, above about 8,000 feet here south central Alaska, spreading into Prince William Sound, extending back to the northwest along the front there. Some off the coast here, the Panhandle will eventually move in tomorrow night and on Monday, Monday, and then some more here over the Alaska Peninsula. Looking at the jet stream for tomorrow, an upper level low here southwest of Nunivak Island. Good southwest jet here at 120 knots, but splits right about in this area. So that's taking a portion of that front eastward. Some more moisture pulling back to the west, so that's where we're just expecting some light rain to come into south central Alaska. And then at 9,000 feet, pretty light wind flow here off the southeast coast into the Gulf. Northward, light winds expected. South to southeast, only 10 knots over the southwest interior. Looks like the strongest winds will be from St. Lawrence Island, northeast 20, and then down across the Aleutians. Westerlies turn southwesterly, but the strongest winds stay south of the eastern Aleutians. 15 to 20 knots here for the southeast Bering Sea. And at 3,000 feet, much the same pattern here, light winds on the Panhandle, a trough right through here, maybe 20 knots at this level, North Gulf Coast and just off the southeast coast, otherwise pretty light over the interior, right up to the Arctic coast. Northeast 25, St. Lawrence Island back to the southwest, and then westerlies 20 to 25 there, Adak Island up across the Alaska Peninsula. Turbulence pretty smooth, Arctic coast, southward in the Gulf of Alaska, Kodiak eastward across the Panhandle. Nothing of significance there, but could be some moderate chop here on the lee side or the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, below about 5,000 feet, and some areas of there below 4,000 feet from the northwest coast of St. Lawrence Island, and also out over the western Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back with the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
Coming up on Destination Tomorrow, we take a look at NASA's Aviation Safety Program. We'll look back at some highlights of the program and find out what the future holds for aviation. All this and more next on Destination Tomorrow.
Judy, tell me a little bit more about the icing protection system. Do all planes have it?
There's what we call an anti-ice system where you don't allow the ice to grow at all. That's if you got a very hot leading edge. You see that in jets. Then there's a de-icing system which has pneumatic boots, that the boots will wrap around that leading edge, they'll inflate and pop the ice off. So you let the ice grow and then you got to get it off. The pneumatic boots are typically what you see with turboprop aircraft.
Does icing affect planes in, say, a warm climate?
Icing occurs everywhere. You've got to be aware of it. I've got a pilot friend who told me the worst icing he encountered was flying from Florida to the Caribbean in July at 16,000 feet. The worst icing he ever saw. But icing really can occur anywhere and any time. One of the things we do here at NASA is to have better designs. So maybe a system that would automatically turn on the ice protection system if a sensor goes out. The short-term solution is to train the pilots and educate them about how to detect icing, how to be aware of it, train them how to get out of the icing environment if and when they need to. Ideally, icing is a non-issue in the future. We're working to get there.
For many of us, fear is the biggest problem when it comes to flying. We thought it may be helpful to present you with some statistics that may or may not be helpful to those of you who are fearful flyers.
First, your chances of being involved in an aircraft accident are approximately 1 in 11 million, while your chances of being killed in an automobile accident are about 1 in 5,000, proving that the most dangerous part of your flight is the drive to the airport.
One last fact. Statistically, you have more of a chance of dying from the food served on board the flight than being involved in an aircraft accident.
Most people who have flown in an airplane have experienced turbulence. NASA is working on new warning systems to help pilots avoid dangerous turbulence. Paula Vaden has more.
If you've ever flown in an airplane, you are probably familiar with turbulence. Even for the most experienced flyers, the sudden, sometimes violent, irregular air motion can be an unsettling experience. In most cases, turbulence is merely an inconvenience that passengers and flight crews must endure. But in cases of severe turbulence, the violent shaking can not only cause serious injury to passengers and crew, it can also be fatal. In an effort to help aircraft avoid turbulence, researchers at NASA are testing new onboard aircraft systems. The Airborne Research Integrated Experiment System, or ARES, uses experimental systems that detect turbulence minutes before an aircraft encounters it. This new system may allow pilots to avoid severe turbulence, making flying safer. I spoke with Neil O'Connor in the Crew Systems branch at NASA Langley Research Center to find out more.
You can think of turbulence as any phenomenon in the atmosphere that's going to upset the airplane. Changes in wind that can cause the airplane to be disrupted from its normal flight. You can also get turbulence whenever you have wind rushing over the top of a mountain. The leeward side of a mountain can be very turbulent. You can also get turbulence wherever the jet stream is active. There's a high wind speed in the region of the jet stream, but slower right nearby. Thunderstorms can cause turbulence. Everyone knows right nearby the storm, but sometimes even 50 or 100 miles away in the clear air, you can get turbulence from a thunderstorm.
So Neil, how are pilots avoiding severe turbulence now?
For the most part, pilots have several simple options. They listen to the radio to hear if other pilots have already encountered turbulence in that area. So that means somebody's already been hit. They can also look at their onboard radar and try to, based on their experience, can extrapolate what they think might be, but it's not really foolproof. And they can also get a general forecast from the government sources or from their own airline.
There we got some turbulence now. We're about 3 miles short.
Though seldom damaging to modern aircraft, turbulence is the leading cause of in-flight injuries among passengers and flight crews. On average, 58 injuries aboard aircraft are reported each year. 98% of these injuries occur when unsuspecting passengers or crew are unbuckled or out of their seats when an aircraft encounters turbulence. Currently, there are no instruments on board aircraft to detect turbulence before a plane encounters it. NASA researchers hope to change this by incorporating new turbulence radar systems within existing onboard weather radars. With this new radar system in place, researchers hope to provide pilots with enough warning to either avoid the turbulent area or at least give passengers and flight attendants enough time to return to their seats and buckle up.
The radar system itself will just be a software upgrade to the existing wind shear radar that's already on board the airplanes. The beauty of that, of course, is that since it's just an upgrade to an already certified piece of hardware, it should be relatively inexpensive because you're just incrementally changing what's out there already.
So Neil, tell me how exactly this new system's going to work.
The way it'll work for the pilot is that he'll flip a switch that's labeled turbulence, and then he'll have the new software running. It'll be running mostly at cruise altitudes where pilots typically allow people to move around the cabin. It's not a problem when you're climbing or descending because everyone's already strapped in. So if you have a turbulence encounter there, it's not a big issue because everyone's already buckled in. But we want to help make a difference at altitude when you don't always know there's going to be turbulence out there. And this new product will be able to increase the capability of the system and increase the pilot's confidence in the accuracy of the system, leading to a better, safer environment.
Besides radar, is there any other kind of research with turbulence?
Doing other research, both onboard and otherwise. The onboard system is called the In Situ Turbulence Warning System, and that's a system that uses accelerometers on the airplane to measure what the airplane feels at a given moment. That'll be transmitted automatically to all other airplanes in the general area, along with the location. And a receiving airplane will take that data and adapt it to its own size and class of airplane, and then assess whether or not it's a threat to that airplane. And if it's a threat, then it'll tell the pilot. Another way of enhancing what we have now is improving our forecast capability. And that gets into modeling of the weather and other phenomena of the atmosphere to better understand what the potential is for turbulence.
So Neil, what are your hopes for this project?
Well, the ultimate goal, of course, is to increase the safety and reduce injuries caused by turbulence on the airplane. Right now, it's very easy to prevent injuries when you know you're going to have turbulence. The pilot says, hey, we got to buckle up for a few minutes. Everyone does it, no one gets hurt. But you don't always know the turbulence is coming. So sometimes if you don't know, people are walking around and the plane gets a lurch, someone's going to get hurt. And it happens now. So we know we can make a difference by improving the product.
That's it for this edition of NASA's Destination Tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steele McGonigal.
And I'm Kara O'Brien. For all of us at NASA, we'll see you next time.
Welcome back. Sea ice hasn't changed much in the last several days, and today's analysis still showing pretty similar to what we had late last week, with ice down and close off to the northwest here, and not a lot of big changes coming up over the next several days. Light northerly winds coming into the forecast, especially for Monday there. That's going to act to just hold this basically in place. Moving on to marine forecasts here, south to southwest, only 10 knots down on the south coast, southeasterlies 10 to 15 up to the north. Seas out there running 5 to 6 feet, so nothing heavy out that way. Light variable winds over the inside waters, 5 to 10 knots. Northern Canal going south at 15, 3-foot seas. And then those pick up a little bit on Monday, south 24-foot seas, light and variable central inside waters. Clarence Strait southeast picking up to 25 knots, and small craft advisories here on the south coast with 8-foot seas, turning lighter and easterly here and then back around to the south up to the north. Prince William Sound east at 10 tomorrow, or variable to east at 10 knots. Slight seas, light variable winds northern Cook Inlet, northeast south of the Forelands. And then 20-knot easterlies coming into Kamishak Bay there, southwest. Shelikof Strait, same thing on the east side of Kodiak Island. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands there, 25-knot winds, 7-foot seas. And then for Monday, southeast 20 for the eastern North Gulf Coast, northeast 10, Prince William Sound. That extends down along the south side or the western North Gulf Coast there. Then you get southwest at 20 from the Barren Islands, down across Kodiak Island, south 20 there for Kamishak Bay, diminishing as you go north through the inlet. For Bristol Bay, south at 15, and north side of the Alaska Peninsula, southerlies at 20 knots. Small craft advisories from Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape there for the Alaska Peninsula. And then for Monday, southwest 20 knots here, southwest of Kodiak Island, up across Bristol Bay with 7 to 8-foot seas. Small craft advisories in the picture now for the Alaska Peninsula for west winds and seas running 7 to 9 feet. Eastern Aleutians, southwest 20 to 30 knots, seas 7 to 12 feet here. Good through tomorrow. West-southwest 15 to 20 for Adak and Atkin, and 20-knot winds on out to Shemya. And looking at, there we go, Monday's forecast. Lighter west-northwest, 15 knots, ADAC on out to Shemya. Otherwise, central Aleutians, westerlies 15 to 20 knots, and that picks up a little bit, 20 to 25 there for the eastern Aleutians, seas 5 to 9 feet. And for the southwest coast, south to southeast, 10 to 15 knots about sums it up. Southeasterlies 15 for the Pribilofs. Small craft advisories, St. Lawrence Island on down to St. Matthew Island and areas to the west. Then for Monday, no change out here for St. Matthew Island, but gales show up and come into the forecast for St. Lawrence Island. Northerlies up to 35 knots and those seas building to 11 feet there. Otherwise variable on the southwest coast at 15, northwest 15 for the Pribilofs. Arctic coast north or northwest, central and east side there, 10 to 15 knots. Also for the west side here, small craft advisories from Cape Beaufort down to the Bering Strait, northeast 25. And those continue with the small crafts, pick up a little bit here from Cape Thompson down to Wales at about 30 knots, north 20 on the western Arctic coast as well as the central coast there, north 15 on the east side. For tonight again, precipitation, look for the low clouds and fog, maybe some of that light drizzle will show up on the east side there, but staying dry to the west. Fair through the eastern interior or northern interior down into the eastern Copper River Basin. The front spread some increasing rain, light rain across the Kenai Peninsula and the southwest here in advance of the front, and some more moisture of that low center out to the west, which pushes across the peninsula tomorrow. Better chance of rain south central Alaska, eventually into Prince William Sound. Light rain areas of back across Norton Sound. And then for Monday, got this front coming down from the north. That'll spread some cooler air in with maybe some snow on the eastern Arctic coast.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.